My boyfriend downloaded Tinder in Vegas. Am I being naive to believe he didn't cheat? My boyfriend, 28-year-old male, and I, 34-year-old female, have been dating for almost 2 years, and he moved in a year ago. We are very much in love, and it is noticeable to everyone around us. It is also relevant that I made him an authorized user on one of my credit cards as I sometimes need him to do tasks for me, and he doesn't have a credit card, and I'm helping him build his credit. For the last 3 years, he has gone on a work trip to a short expo in Vegas. He goes with a group of people that are in the same line of work, and they spend much of the trip gambling, drinking, and eating, all on the expense of his boss who goes with. This past Monday, I found out that they went out for a steak dinner, and he was starting to feel lightheaded. The MGM had a medic that came to take a look at him, and his blood pressure was very low. He told the group he was going back to his room to lay down, and that was the end of it. Me, back at home not knowing this happened. See, he uses the card 2 times at Jewel nightclub. The next day, he tells me about the steak and the low blood pressure episode but never brings up the nightclub. His flight is late Wednesday, and we don't talk about the trip very much. Thursday morning I had a bad feeling, and before I left for the day, I looked at his phone. In his text messages he has a Tinder code text, which I then looked at his emails and saw he signed up for Tinder Gold Monday morning at 5 a.m. along with heatodaffairs.com before he started his day at the expo. I got home at noon on Thursday and asked him to give me a recap of his day on Monday in entirety. He still never mentions the nightclub. I bring up that he used the card there, and he seems confused, like he doesn't remember parts of the day. After grilling him, he says he didn't feel good and went up to his room, then came down to the casino floor to gamble and have a beer. Then he got a taxi and went to the club. One charge was $46.60, which he says was the cover charge, and one for $39.02, which he says was for a vodka Red Bull. Then he stayed for about an hour and left. He admitted he downloaded the apps out of curiosity, but never acted on anything and never met up with anyone. He has been extremely apologetic for doing something that dumb that would hurt me and doesn't know why he did. I have so many red flags and feel like I'm not getting a complete story, but he has said he told me everything. I want to believe him that he didn't meet with anyone, but nothing is making sense. He permanently deleted his Tinder before I could read any messages and has given me full access to his phone whenever I've asked. I asked if the roles were reversed and I did all of that to him, what he would think, and he said he would be super angry. I don't feel anger. I feel heartbroken. I'm still very much in love with him but don't know if I can get past this. I've never been in a situation like this before. Am I just being naive to take him at his word that he didn't actually cheat on me? Yes, you are being naive. Even on the off chance that nothing came to fruition, he was trying. And he paid to try too. I can't speak for you, but that alone would be enough for me to end a relationship. Do you really want to stay with someone who doesn't want to be faithful to you? Am I the antagonist for giving my husband's dog away? 3 months ago my husband, 30, brought home a dog after I said no. We have 2 daughters together, 5 and 6 months, and when our oldest was born, he would never change a diaper. If he knew I was coming home in less than a few hours, he would let our daughter sit in waste until I came home to change her. This happened until she started getting severe diaper rash, and he finally started helping. I'm sharing this to show that I knew from day one I would be stuck caring for this dog. My daughters and I loved him, but the problem set in when I started helping too much. This is a continuous issue. The moment I offer him help with a chore, he drops the load permanently. The dog is not potty trained yet, so accidents happen. I started picking up after the dog when I saw it, which led to my husband making it my job, and he would sit in the room with dog poop on the floor and act like he didn't see it until I came in. Even if we did not have kids, I would be angry with this, but having kids makes it so much worse. The last time he left the mess on the floor, our 5-year-old had stepped in it and climbed onto our light-colored couch. I would come home from work and have to take care of 2 kids, my husband, and now a dog. I got fed up very quickly with this routine, as adding another life to take care of made me reach my breaking point. My last straw was when I was in the dining room folding laundry and suddenly got this bad feeling. I walked into the living room to see my girl with her face in the dog's while he was baring his teeth at her. He had gotten into the trash and had food. I saw red. My husband was watching TV right in front of this. I was just so overwhelmed. I had tried explaining to my daughter so many times that an animal cannot be trusted like that, no matter what. She is only 5, so I am not blaming her, but this was one of my biggest fears about having an animal. My husband kept saying nothing happened, so I shouldn't freak out and that Peeper is a sweetheart. I knew then the dog had to go. Not because of anything he did, but because our household couldn't handle him. We had many arguments about rehoming him, but he refused. He said I would break my daughter's heart if I gave our dog away, and they would never forgive me. I knew a friend looking for a dog and rehomed him anyways. I took off work to drop him off and told my daughter to say goodbye because he had to go. She only cried for 10 minutes before talking about how excited she was to tell Grandma about Peeper's new home. When my husband got home, he completely lost it. He cried, which doesn't happen often. After arguing, he started completely ignoring me. A few days later, my daughter, who had not even mentioned Peeper since rehoming him, came up to me crying and said I am heartless and cold. I have never heard her use the word heartless ever in her life. I know I should have given my husband a chance to say goodbye, but if I had told him the dog would still be in our house right now, am I the a-hole? Your husband's behavior is unacceptable, and he is clearly prioritizing his own comfort over the well-being of your daughters. It's concerning that he would use your child against you and allow such neglect. You deserve better, and it may be time to consider leaving him for the sake of your children's safety and well-being. Stand up for yourself and your girls before it's too late. Am I the antagonist for asking inconsiderate gifter to keep their money? I, female 36, had a birthday a few weeks ago. For context, I am fortunate enough to be doing well enough with work that I am doing comfortably money-wise that I did not really need anything. However, I had several friends, family members that still wanted to give gifts, so I made a small list of ideas with some items ranging from $10 to $60, thinking the higher amount items would be picked up by people like my parents or husband who are also doing fine. Enter sister-in-law, ages 30. I'll be honest, we aren't the closest. She is not doing very well, living paycheck to paycheck. She frequently buys loads of stuff from places like Temu because it is cheap, not because she necessarily needs it. Inconsiderate may not be a 100% fair description of her as a gifter because she's often in the right category. Like if one of the kids is into art, she will get them one of those art kits, but the cheapest one she can possibly find, where all the paints and markers are dried out before you even open it. Lots of gifts like that, where it's the cheapest possible version of what you might have wanted, or used items when not appropriate. Used books are awesome, used makeup less so. The family has tried suggesting to her a few times that if she really wants to spend $10 on us, we would all really prefer to get one $10 item than 10 $1 items, you know? As the stuff she gifts often doesn't work or otherwise just becomes a burden to have to try to throw away recycle. I didn't realize she'd gotten a hold of my birthday wishlist until a gift arrived in the mail, a very cheap massager. Context: I have horrific chronic pain and go to a massage therapist frequently. I had put gift cards to my massage therapist on my list. I already have a nice massager, and to be honest, no need for one that didn't seem like it would work very long. So I thanked sister-in-law for the thought, but asked if they might be able to return it. No gift receipt, as I already had one, and I said that she really didn't need to get me something. I said I appreciated the sentiment, but I'd prefer if they kept that money for themselves. Sister-in-law got very defensive, saying she'd got me something from my list and that I was an for rejecting her gift. I said I already had a massager that suited my needs well, and she said I was a snob because not everyone could afford the exact things on my list. I had not been expecting anything from her, but I had tried to provide ideas at several price points, as there are a couple other people in the family with tight budgets who still insisted on getting something. I reiterated I was happy to get birthday wishes from her, but she did not need to feel obligated to get me anything, and I would prefer she use that money for herself. She called me ungrateful and hung up. Husband understands, but says I probably should have just accepted the gift and either tossed it quietly or given it away or something. But years of this kind of stuff made me feel like I had to say something. So, am I the a-hole? Your sister sounds just like my sister, who buys a bunch of useless crap off Temu and passes them off as gifts. Your response to her unwanted gift was completely reasonable, and her reaction was not. From now on, she might think twice before gifting you trash, and honestly, it sounds like she needs to hear it. It's not your problem to fix her financial anxieties, and your sister should know that if she can't afford gifts, she shouldn't be buying them. My husband, a university lecturer, told me he has feelings for one of his students. I am crushed. My husband, 36 years old male, and I, 35 years old female, have been married 7 years. He teaches English literature at a university, and has done for a few years now. 4 weeks ago, he sat me down and took my hands. I was immediately scared by the look on his face and asked nervously what was wrong. He explained to me that he was resigning from his job, and when I asked why, he told me it was because he had developed intense feelings for one of his students, a 19-year-old. I felt like someone had knocked all the air out of me because I just sat gawping at him for what felt like ages. After that, there were things I needed to know. My main question was whether he had ever acted on his intense feelings and put this girl in danger. He was quick to defend himself and told me nothing like that ever happened, and everything he ever felt had never been acted on. He said that was why he felt he had to leave his job. He apologized to me over and over, but all I could do was sit in silence, staring into space. I was far too numb to even process my own feelings or communicate them to him, but pretty much knew in that moment I needed space, and that our marriage was over. We have a second home on the outskirts of the city, which is where I went, and have been staying ever since. We have spoken a bit over the phone, and I expressed wanting a divorce. While upset, my husband agreed and apologized to me for what he'd done to us, and since then, we have not spoken. My husband told his parents about the situation, who in turn told mine, and now everyone seems to have the full picture and are all giving their opinions. Most people side with me in my decision to pursue divorce proceedings and have given amazing support, but some feel I'm being unfair. Their argument is that by leaving his job, my husband is trying to do the right thing, and he didn't pursue anything with the girl, which we only have his word on. However, they are 100% the loud minority, and their opinions don't hold weight with me. I also spoke at length with the head of the university almost immediately after I found out. It turns out my husband confessed his reasons for leaving his job, and they are in the process of conducting their own investigation. I just want the best for the girl involved. I already have a lawyer, and so I engaged with them to put some things in motion. I plan on going through my lawyer for all the stuff involving contact with my husband, because right now I feel sick even seeing him. While at my therapist, I expressed my need for closure and further answers, because I'd felt so numb to ask very much and still felt in the dark. She agreed it might be a good idea to speak with him, even if it's over the phone, to obtain that closure. So that's where I am right now. We're getting divorced, and for now, I'm good with not seeing him in person. However, I do have a burning need to ask more questions, such as how long he had felt that way towards his student, and how deep those emotions had been. Not only that, but to express how I feel now some of the shock has worn off. Do you guys think that would be a good idea, or should I move on without pursuing these things? My mother in particular feels I'd only be setting myself up for more hurt if I did that, and I'm torn. I just can't believe someone quit their whole job without notice if it was entirely unacted on feelings. Does it feel slightly like there's something he's not telling you here? It just feels strange that he'd quit his job just for having feelings. He quit his whole job as a university lecturer over intense feelings for one student. I'm not buying what is being sold. Would I be the antagonist to accept my estranged brother back into the family fold against my niece's wishes? My 58-year-old brother, 64 years old, married a narcissistic woman. He was what they call the enabling parent, Aita. His wife scapegoated their oldest daughter, and he went along with it to keep the peace, and bought into his ex-wife's BS that it was the child's fault, and they both horribly emotionally abused her entire life. My other sisters, and parents all knew she was bad news before they got married, but he'd hear none of it and was enmeshed with this woman. She isolated him and the kids from all of us, so we didn't get to have a relationship with them growing up. Eldest daughter went no contact with them when she reached her 30s. My brother tried to strong-arm, basically bully, her back into the family fold because his now ex-wife was giving him hell and he just wanted her off his back. Eldest daughter, scapegoat, left the family. They finally turned on the golden child. She woke up and she left too. That was when my brother finally saw the light and divorced this woman. My niece, the scapegoat, found me and my sisters, her other aunts, and our kids, her cousins, on Facebook and developed a relationship with us. She's been in therapy and has come a long way, but that poor girl is so traumatized, she qualifies for a service dog. Since my brother has finally woken up and realized we aren't the villains his ex made us out to be, he wants to recover the family he's lost. His daughter wants nothing to do with him ever again, and I don't blame her. I told him I understand he was a victim of narcissistic abuse, but that he had a responsibility to protect his child, and he failed miserably. He threw his child under the bus to keep a woman in his bed, and I told him I'm disgusted with him for that, and horrified how he abused his daughter for years despite being brainwashed. I told him we would be willing to reconnect with some ground rules. A. His daughter wants nothing to do with him. Do not ask us to encourage reconciliation on his behalf, because we will not. These are the consequences of his actions. B. She gets first choice of family events. He can only come if she's not there. I thought this was a reasonable compromise, but my niece is so upset she's saying if we have anything at all to do with him, she will go no contact with all of us. These rules aren't good enough. I hate what he did to her, but he too was a victim, and he's my brother, and I don't want to have to choose, and I think I made very reasonable compromises, but she's giving me an ultimatum. Your brother has a long way and a lot to prove to everyone. He was a grown man who turned a blind eye and participated in the abuse. He tried to strong-arm her and threw his kids under the bus. A loving parent cannot be coerced into abusing their child. He chose to abuse her evilly every day for years. Your niece sees through him, while his waking up was just another word for feeling sorry for himself. Stand by your niece's side, as she is the victim and never feels she can trust you again if you invite him back. He only woke up because there was no one else for his wife to abuse, so all her abuse turned to him. Don't throw the niece under the bus. Your brother needs to sort his relationship with her on his own and respect her wishes to cut him out of her life. Am I the antagonist for not wanting my sister to have my room when I go to university? Hello, I'm a 17-year-old female and will be graduating high school to go to university next year, class of 2025. First of all, I would like to preface that I don't think anyone is really being an asshole in this situation. More everyone being stubborn all around, but I wanted to see an objective opinion from outsiders. Please be kind, lol. Basically, my sister Abby is 12 years old. She used to always complain that her room was too small, but lately she's been personalizing it and is happier with her space. We've always joked as a family that she will get my room once I go to university, but lately they're getting serious about it. For reference, her room is about 3/4 of the size of mine. It's objectively smaller, but she has a good amount of space and a lot of storage. My parents told me she will probably get my room once I go off to university, since she's been asking for it. I didn't think they were serious, but they said it's unfair for her since I will be out of the house and she's soon to be a teenager and needs more space. I'm really trying to be mature and not petty about this, but I feel like this is really unfair. First of all, it's not like I'll be totally gone. I intend to still live in my house over the summer break since I won't have an apartment, and that's like 4 to 5 months out of the year. I'll also be staying home for Christmas holiday and the occasional weekend and things like that. It's not that her room sucks and I don't want to live there, but I've lived in my room for 15 years and it feels completely like my safe space. It just feels like I'm being pushed out, which I find hurtful and honestly kind of stupid. This is still my home even if I will be living elsewhere for school for half the year. In the future, when I get my own apartment instead of a dorm, obviously I will reconsider, but am I wrong in thinking this is unfair right now? I know I should talk it out with them, but I want to know what the general opinion is to get my thoughts straight. You're the antagonist. Objectively speaking, you are being selfish and unreasonable. Remember the days of childhood when your sister wouldn't use a toy, but would cry when you tried to play with it? That's how you're acting now, expecting your unused room to be preserved for over half the year. Your new chapter at university means leaving the nest, not demanding a shrine. Move on with gratitude for the past, and embrace your smaller space with acceptance and appreciation for the future. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.